Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Melissa hitting Cuba. The storm making landfall earlier this morning. The latest forecast on the powerful hurricane and where it's headed next.
We are still seeing some fairly miserable conditions around here. Cloudy skies, a little bit of light rain. It's chilly, and we'll have some breezy conditions. I'll show you our next weather maker that brings even more rain tonight.
And a father suspected of murder, a Johnston County man accused of killing his 4 children. The new information we're expecting to get today from investigators.
Fixing the DMV. Today, the commissioner will face questions about issues at that agency, what lawmakers hope to change about it, and how it operates. Thank you so much for joining us here in the 8 o'clock hour. We always appreciate your time here on Fox 50. I'm Ken Smith.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Another pretty chilly start out there. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. I got a little bit of mist coming in this morning as well, Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable out there this morning. We're not looking at any heavy rain. We check out dual Doppler 5000 radar, and it's just very light and patchy. We're going to see that for most of the day. We may see the chances bump up a little bit right around lunchtime, but even then, we're not going to see enough to really measure much in the rain gauges. About 40 to 50% chance around lunchtime, and then in the afternoon we're back to 30% chance. But overnight, our next weather maker will bring us a better chance of rain, especially after midnight into early tomorrow morning. We'll walk through that coming up on Futurecast. It's just messy out there right now. You can see water on the camera lens here in downtown Raleigh. It's 48 degrees with the wind northeast at 8 miles per hour, so it's chilly. Temperatures only make it into the mid-50s for this afternoon, so our morning commute will just be, messy out there with a little bit of light rain and drizzle. Fewer showers this afternoon, but another round of rain late tonight. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. Of course, a lot happened with Melissa overnight last night. Meteorologist Chris Michael is here to talk about that.
And Elizabeth, starting to get some of those early and first images out of Cuba of the storm, and we'll show you some of that video here. A lot of the flooding ahead of landfall. That landfall was earlier this morning, but it didn't take long for the waters to start rushing. Let's give you some of the newest information that we have about the storm within the past 10 to 15 minutes. It was brought down to a Category 2, still over Cuba, and starting to head to some of the smaller islands of the Bahamas, likely the center of the storm, staying east of areas like Nassau. It did make landfall as a Cat 3 this morning in Cuba, and it continues to move off toward the north, where it will be drifted away from U.S. soil. We'll talk about why it was able to stay so strong for so long coming up in a few minutes. Ken?
All right, what's happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center? We're seeing some off and on congestion on US 1 around Highway 55 coming in from Apex this morning. Right now it's rather cleared up, but it's a situation where there's a crash right here at the interchange between US 1 and I-40 this morning. That's causing the 19-minute delay that we're seeing right now coming in from Apex. Right now it's dropped down to 14 minutes, so things are getting better. You're looking at an 11-minute delay if you're coming in from Wake Forest on US 1 south, and just a 4-minute delay on I-87 because things have really gotten a lot better there on I-87. Here's that southern loop of the Beltline, I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. Those are the westbound lanes moving away from us this morning. This is usual morning congestion that we see this time of morning. So right now you're looking at a 60-minute delay on that southern loop of the Beltline. You've got to factor in the damp road conditions that we're experiencing this morning. You're coming in from Garner, Johnston County, no delays whatsoever. And you're heading west on using the Wade Avenue corridor, you're looking at a 3-minute delay. You're getting ready to head into the car. Tune us in on the radio. We'll keep you updated on your morning commute, 101.5 HD3.
All right, thank you, Ken. Today, we're expecting to get new information about the deaths of 4 children in Johnston County. Authorities say their father, Wellington Dickens III, admitted to killing them. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is in Johnston County explaining the update we're expecting this morning about this tragedy, leaving a community shocked. We're less than a couple of hours away from getting an update from the Johnston County Sheriff's Office. Our cameras were there yesterday as Wellington Dickens III made his first court appearance. He's facing 4 murder charges after confessing to killing 3 of his children and his stepson. When deputies arrived at his home on Springtooth Drive in Zebulon, Dickens said his 3-year-old son was still alive, but the 4 other children were dead inside the trunk of a car. Deputies believe the children have been dead since May 1st. Neighbors say Dickens changed significantly since his wife died during childbirth last year, but they never expected that such a heinous crime could happen right next door.
My heart just breaks for the children and for the 3-year-old that's left, because he has no parents or siblings left. And it's just been very emotional.
Just a tragic situation here. The sheriff's office is scheduled to have a news conference this morning at 10 o'clock. Dickens appeared in court yesterday for one of those murder charges, and he's expected to appear in court again today for the other 3. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Johnston County.
Time is 8:05 here in the WRAL Live Center. Good morning. I'm Chris Levingood. Still keeping our eye on the aftermath of Melissa after it pushed through Jamaica. And I'm looking at one of the live cameras we have access to, but you'll see it's kind of buffering right now. That's because more than 6,400 people are trying to access this camera. But you can at least see here in Kingston, the damage wasn't quite as bad here as other parts of the island. One other thing that we're kind of looking at as well are the different ways you can support Jamaica right now. This is from the official Jamaican government's website, supportjamaica.gov.jm. This is how, if you want to do your part to help out the island nation, you can do that. While people are trying to do what they can individually, we have heard from President Donald Trump aboard Air Force One today that the U.S. will be helping. Take a listen.
On a humanitarian basis, we have to. So we're watching it closely, and we're prepared to move. But it's doing tremendous damage. As we speak, it's right there right now.
I'll leave you with this last view here again from Kingston. The camera moved just a little bit. You'll see there are clearly some vehicles that are going there as the island's trying to move forward after that devastating hurricane.
And as you might imagine, Chris, many tourists are stranded there in Jamaica after that Category 5 hit that area, including many from right here in our area. WRAL's Laura Levine live at RDU International this morning. And Laura, you spoke with a couple trying to get home after getting stuck on that island while celebrating their wedding anniversary.
Ken, we are hearing from so many people from North Carolina who are there in Jamaica riding out that storm and trying to hopefully catch the first flight out. Here at RDU, you will not find a single flight coming to or from Jamaica, and that's because all of the airports there remain closed. Now, we did back up with Bridget and Wayne Todd. That's the couple celebrating their anniversary on the island. And Bridget gave us a look at how they're hunkering down in their resort with mattresses and furniture blocking doors and windows. They even have a pallet in the bathroom for them to sleep in with a tub filled up with clean water.
Sunday on the 26th was when we tried to leave here. We had a 2 o'clock flight, and the airport ended up closing by noon, so our flight was immediately canceled. And so that was a little frustrating because the weather appeared nice that day and even half the day yesterday. So we're kind of confused as to why they couldn't have got more people out sooner.
Well, happening today and
going through. And we have tried to reach back out to Bridget this morning, but our messages are not going through because it's likely that services have been knocked out because of the storm. Laura Levine, WRAL News, live at RDU.
And happening today in Raleigh, we're expecting to learn more about the state of operations at the DMV. This comes after months of long wait times and a push from state leaders to fix it. State lawmakers will be questioning transportation officials during a hearing today, including DMV Commissioner Paul Tyne. He took over the top job this summer after the former commissioner resigned. Officials from the state auditor's office also expected to testify recent recommended changes to some of the problems they found. WRAL state government reporter Will Doran says that the audit points to staffing as a key issue.
They found in a series of audits that workers are overworked, the offices are understaffed, and that is part of the reason why we have these long lines. DMV officials have said that they've made lots of improvements in the past several months, including more options for people to renew online and skip that physical line to get their licenses renewed.
And new Transportation Secretary Daniel Johnson also expected to go before the committee focused on government efficiency. You can read a preview of the hearing and updates later today on WRAL.com.
Well, along the Outer Banks, more homes at risk of falling into the ocean. You see it right there. Just yesterday, 5 more homes were brought down. High winds and powerful waves are what made that collapse happen. Well, since September, more than a dozen homes have fallen into the ocean. Roads have been covered with sand and water. That's making it even more difficult for people to get around. WRAL spoke with Jennifer Coons. She's a photographer who lives in that area. She says she witnessed the homes coming down yesterday.
and I stood there and watched that one get completely broken up. The sounds of glass breaking and the house crunching, it's almost like traumatic at this point. If you hear debris clanking together while you're waiting for a house to fall, it's almost traumatizing because you're like, which one just fell?
And of course, parts of Highway 12 shut down overnight because of waves and overwash. Leaders are encouraging people who live along the Outer Banks or that highway to stay home and avoid driving today.
Coming up, suing for SNAP. The North Carolina Attorney General going to court to have federal dollars released for the program. How the shutdown could affect food benefits for families across our state.
And we're getting back to recovery in Jamaica. We're getting some of our first looks at the devastation on that island nation from Hurricane Melissa. We'll show you some of the land hardest hit in that area.
And more of the same around here. You can see the raindrops on the camera lens as we take a look at downtown Raleigh. It will be a bit drizzly today, chilly, breezy, gray. I'll let you know when our next weather maker could bring even more rain. 8:13, taking a look at dual Doppler 5000 radar. Not a whole lot showing up here, but there's definitely some drizzle across the area that doesn't necessarily show up on the radar. We're going to see this on and off all day, about a 40 to 50% chance of some light showers at lunchtime and back to 30% chance later on this afternoon. But overnight, we'll have our next weather maker that'll bring us a front with more rain, and I'll show you that coming up on Futurecast. In the meantime, our highest chance midday today at 50%, and then tomorrow morning we may have some lingering showers at about 40%, but after that we're done, and it should be dry Friday and into the weekend. In Durham, it's 48 in Raleigh, 49 in Fayetteville. We're seeing drizzly conditions. It's chilly. It's a little bit damp out there. If you're walking the dog, you might find a few puddles. Our high temperatures this afternoon will be in the mid-50s. Coming up again, we're going to talk about tonight's weather maker.
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We're staying in Apex this morning because we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown, not a little, but quite a bit of a congestion happening between Highway 55 and the I-40 this morning because of this crash right near the interchange. So right now you're looking at a 19-minute delay. I would actually use Highway 55 over to Business 64 and then work your way back to US 1 this morning just as an alternate route.
All right, thank you, Ken. President Donald Trump is in South Korea this morning as part of his trip through Asia. Trump was welcomed today by South Korea's president, and President Trump was given the country's highest honor. Tomorrow, Trump is scheduled to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping to talk about a possible trade deal. And breaking news, Israel says its ceasefire with Hamas is back in place after overnight strikes killed dozens. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the strikes after accusing Hamas of violating the ceasefire agreement. President Trump defended Israel, saying the strikes came after Hamas killed an Israeli soldier. Well, the government shutdown is now entering day 29, and now a judge is blocking the Trump administration from laying off certain federal employees. The U.S. District Judge granted federal employee unions' request for a preliminary injunction, and this follows a pause on layoffs put in place nearly 2 weeks ago by the same judge. It prohibits any new layoff notices and pauses any existing ones for federal workers represented by several unions. However, the order does not cover notices that were sent to employees before the shutdown. And the North Carolina Attorney General is suing the Trump administration. Attorney General Jeff Jackson wants the government to release $6 billion in emergency funding. On WRAL, we've reported on how the loss of SNAP benefits could affect more than 1 million North Carolinians. If you are on SNAP, we have resources to food banks on our website. That's WRAL.com.
A Raleigh Social Services Group is furloughing more than 250 people here in North Carolina. The East Coast Migrant Head Start Project filed notices at a dozen locations, including Wake County. The project works with families of migrant workers. The suspension of Head Start grant money is tied to the federal government shutdown. Workers are expected to return once the government reopens. Changes could be on the way for Wake County students when it comes to cell phones. A new proposal would require phones to be turned off, and smart features would need to be disabled for smartwatches and smart glasses. The school board is also considering changing the policy so students can still bring personal laptops to school for instructional purposes. The school board is considering making the changes to comply with the new state law on cell phones and other communication devices. The school board plans to approve the changes by the end of the year. Construction is underway at RDU International. Take a look at this video that's underway at Terminal 2, Gate Set. C8 and C10 are blocked off as the airport prepares to expand its international facilities and security spaces. Airport management says it's part of several projects to enhance the airport experience for travelers. Well, changes could be coming to the Pinehurst traffic circle. State DOT is considering adding an extra road within the circle. This would also come with the new traffic signal to help coordinate traffic. Now, State DOT spent 20 years studying the area and potential improvements. Is taking feedback for the next several weeks before finalizing that plan, by the way.
As we follow the track of Hurricane Melissa, we are getting a look at the damage left behind in Jamaica. Look at this video. This is in the southwestern city of Black River. The damage is so extensive that the police station is being used as a temporary shelter. Officials say this is a very tough time for the island.
Jamaica has gone through what I can call one of its worst periods. Our infrastructure has been severely compromised. St. Elizabeth is the breadbasket of the country, and that has taken a beating. The entire Jamaica has felt the brunt of Melissa.
And the storm is already to blame for at least 7 deaths in the Caribbean. It's going to be a very long time before they can get back to any sort of normalcy there. All right, let's turn over to weather locally here. Actually, Chris Michaels is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center now. Chris, you have more on Melissa and its effects on Jamaica.
You know, and you see that video, and unfortunately, it's kind of what you expected when you saw that this historic storm was going to be making landfall. Ties is the strongest landfalling hurricane on record in the Atlantic. One other thing that we kind of pointed out over the past few days was just how long it was a Category 5 storm. It was a Cat 5 for 34 consecutive hours, and while that's not a record, that's longer than your usual Cat 5 storm. One of the longest ones in recent memory, you may remember in 2017, Irma. It was a Cat 5 storm for 60 consecutive hours, but it spent a lot of time over open water, whereas Melissa was getting closer to land. So right now on Ask the Meteorologist on WRAL.com, we're talking about why this storm defied the odds and actually strengthened ahead of landfall. Meanwhile, we had another storm of our own that wasn't related to Melissa, but it was that coastal storm that, once again, Elizabeth, brought some homes into the ocean on the Outer Banks.
We've seen this over and over this fall. September and October, we've seen as many as a dozen or more homes fall in. These are all in Buxton, and you can sort of tell here on the video. You can see several of these are still sitting out in the ocean, and so there are 3 more that are at risk for falling in. And this is an unusual situation to have so many at one time, but I think finally we just had enough erosion that it started to affect, another one of those rows of houses. But a lot of ocean overwash as well. Highway 12 is closed in many places. We don't think about, a storm that just brought us some rain yesterday, about how much of an impact it can have on the Outer Banks. This was all Outer Banks. The rest of the coastline was fine. There's still a high surf advisory there today for seas at 10 feet or so. Coastal flood warning, 1 to 2 feet of additional inundation. Again, like I said, there may be 3 more houses in Buxton that could fall in, and overwash on Highway 12 is closed, that highway at least for a while. So again, here we are with more of that, and we may see more of these nor'easters over the winter. That one that we saw yesterday is moving offshore, a little bit of light rain left behind, but this is our next weather maker. This is not going to do the same sort of damage to the coast, but this will come in and bring us a chance of rain overnight along with the front. Right now, we're dealing with some patchy light rain. Most of it has been from the Triangle area eastward. There's drizzle out there, even though it may not be showing up here on the radar. It's just kind of a miserable day, especially from Raleigh eastward. We got some good soaking rain yesterday, anywhere from as low as around an inch to as high as 1 3/4 inches. Around Raleigh, it was about 1.5 inches, but north of Fayetteville, it was about 1 3/4 inches. We definitely had some patches where it was nice and heavy. Here's our next weather maker. A bit of a lull today, but then overnight that moves through, and along with that front, we could see a few isolated thunderstorms. All this should move out pretty early tomorrow. At 5 o'clock, we're pretty dry during the evening commute, but it might be a bit drizzly. By midnight, we start to see some of this rain working its way back in, and then our last line could come through between 6 and 8 o'clock tomorrow morning with a few rumbles of thunder, and then after that, we should see some clearing, which is great news for the trick-or-treaters, that's for sure. Our high temperature on Friday, 63. 63, trick-or-treat temperatures in the 50s, and a pretty weekend. Just don't forget, we get an extra hour of sleep on Saturday night, Ken.
Excellent. And happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, we're seeing some off and on congestion there in US 1 near Highway 55. Right now, it's clear, but get a little farther north, closer to the I-40 US 1 interchange. This crash is causing quite a bit of slowdown. That's why you're looking at a 17-minute delay if you're coming in from Apex this morning. You might want to just use Highway 55 over to Business 64 to avoid what's happening there. You're looking at a 10-minute delay if you're coming in from Wake Forest this morning on US 1. Here's that southern loop of the Beltline, I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. Those are the westbound lanes moving away from us this morning. This is the usual congestion we see this time of the morning. Really, truly, just looking at a 6-minute delay. If you're coming in from Garner, Johnston County, Highway 36 to the Beltline, just a 1-minute delay. You're getting ready to head into the car. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Thanks, Ken. Digital estate planning. 5 on Your Side explains how you can protect your online presence after you're gone. And push for reform. A new bill in the House is pushing for changes to redistricting laws. How a congressman in North Carolina is joining this effort.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Pretty dreary start for our Wednesday morning. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner following a couple of light spotty showers.
It's not as wet as it was yesterday, but it's still really damp out there. There's some drizzle and a little bit of light patchy rain moving up toward Goldsboro and up towards, say, Wilson County. Hour by hour, it may bump up a little bit closer to lunchtime with a 50% chance, and then back down through the evening to 30% chance. But we do have another weather maker that'll come through overnight. That's going to bring us a better chance of some rain. Exercise planner today. You probably want to keep it inside. Temperatures only in the mid-50s, Ken.
Happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, we're seeing some off and on congestion around US 1, around Highway 55. But once you get a little farther north on US 1, there's quite a bit of a slowdown as a result of this crash near the I-40 US 1 interchange there. That's why you're looking at a 12-minute delay coming in from Apex this morning. You might want to take Highway 55 over to Business 64 just to be on the safe side. You're looking at a 10-minute delay if you're coming in from Wake Forest this morning. Things have really gotten a lot better on I-87. You just have a 3-minute delay. I'll have another update on your morning commute at the bottom of the hour on Fox 50.
Thanks, Ken. We are expecting new information this morning about the father accused of murdering his 4 children in Johnston County. Wellington Dickens III has been charged in the deaths of 3 of his biological children and his stepson. The sheriff's office is holding a news conference at 10 a.m. And happening today in Raleigh, we're expecting to learn more about the state of operations at the DMV. The agency's commissioner will be answering questions from lawmakers about a recent audit. This comes after months of long wait times and the push from state leaders to fix it. Next on Fox 50, a Halifax County couple describes their experience on Jamaica as Hurricane Melissa made landfall. And coming up on Today, the Olympic celebration continues on the Today Plaza.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Right now at 8:30, Hurricane Melissa hits Cuba. The storm making landfall as a Cat 3 early this morning. A look at where the storm is right now and the devastation left behind in Jamaica.
And for us, we're seeing gray skies, some drizzly conditions, cool temperatures, and breezy weather. We're looking at another weather maker tonight that'll bring us a better chance for rain.
Also this half hour, a father's confession. An update expected this morning on the man accused of killing his 4 children. The questions that remain about the tragedy in Johnston County.
Plus, pushing for solutions. Today, the head of the state's DMV will face pointed questions from lawmakers, the problems they're looking to solve within the agency. Still have a lot of news to get to for you on your Wednesday morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
And I'm Ken Smith. After the heavy rain yesterday, we're still waking up to cloud cover, some damp road conditions out there. Let's get back to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner, the WRAL Severe Weather Center, tracking it all for us.
It'll only feel slightly better than it did yesterday. It won't be quite as breezy or quite as wet, but it is damp out there. It is gray and a little on the breezy side. A couple of isolated showers in the northern part of Sampson County over into Wayne County. That's going to lift northward. But even where you're not technically seeing any rain, we're seeing some drizzly conditions, especially right here around downtown Raleigh. Temperatures, of course, will be chilly today. We're going to bump it up to a 50% chance of rain at lunchtime and back to 30% chance for the evening. But then overnight, after midnight, we're going to see an even better chance for rain with our next weather maker. Here's a look at some drizzly conditions in downtown Raleigh at the Legislative Building. Our wind is northeast at 8 miles per hour with only 48 degrees. So it's, again, not very comfortable out there, and it stays cool all day with highs in the mid-50s. So during your morning commute, scattered rain, a little bit of drizzle, and then just a few isolated showers during the afternoon and evening. And then overnight, another round of rain with our next weather maker. We're going to talk about how much we could see coming up. In the meantime, meteorologist Chris Michaels here with a look at what's happened with Melissa overnight.
And Melissa, since yesterday, is producing just a whole lot of damage in Jamaica and in Cuba. We were getting a first look this morning at some of the damage that was done. You're looking at Jamaica here, where folks are obviously cleaning up and going to spend the next few weeks and months cleaning up from this storm. Black River was one of the areas hit hardest by Melissa. Melissa, the third Category 5 hurricane of the season in terms of the number of total storms we've seen, close to average, but 3 Category 5s, the most on record, is 4 back in 2005. You might remember that being the year with storms like Katrina, Rita, and Wilma. Now it's a Category 2 moving off of Cuba toward the Bahamas, and it continues to race into the North Atlantic. A lot of folks asking what kind of wind could these homes sustain. We're looking at that in Jamaica and here in North Carolina coming up in a little bit.
All right, Chris, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We're seeing some off and on congestion around US 1 North, around Highway 55. Right now, it's free and clear, but you get a little farther north on US 1. We're seeing quite a bit of delays as a result of this crash right here near the US 1 I-40 interchange there in Apex. So you're looking at a 13-minute delay coming in from Apex this morning. If you're coming from Durham, you're looking at a 4-minute delay, just a 9-minute delay if you're coming in from Wake Forest. Here's a look at that southern loop of the Beltline. I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. These are the westbound lanes moving away from us this morning. And usually that's the kind of congestion that we see this time of the morning. But as congested as that looks, you're just looking at a 4-minute delay between the Beltline and US 1 there in Cary. You're coming in from Garner, Johnston County, no delays whatsoever between Highway 36 and the Beltline this morning. I do want to take you over to Durham briefly because there's a situation there on I-885 in the northbound lanes. There was a crash right north of the TW Alexander exit that's cleared, but you can still see the lingering delays. You're looking at a 7-minute delay going into Durham. If you're using I-885 to get to I-40 this morning, you're looking at a 6-minute delay. You get ready to head into the car. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Thanks, Ken. Today, we are expecting to get new information about the deaths of 4 children in Johnston County. Authorities say their father, Wellington Dickens III, admitted to killing them. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is in Johnston County explaining the update we're expecting this morning about this tragedy, leaving a community shocked.
We're less than a couple of hours away from getting an update from the Johnston County Sheriff's Office. Our cameras were there yesterday as Wellington Dickens III made his first court appearance. He's facing 4 murder charges after confessing to killing 3 of his children and his stepson. When deputies arrived at his home on Springtooth Drive in Zebulon, Dickens said his 3-year-old son was still alive, but the 4 other children were dead inside the trunk of a car. Deputies believe the children have been dead since May 1st. Neighbors say Dickens changed significantly since his wife died during childbirth last year, but they never expected that such a heinous crime could happen right next door.
My heart just breaks for the children and for the 3-year-old that's left because he has no parents or siblings left. And it's just been very emotional.
Just a tragic situation here. The sheriff's office is scheduled to have a news conference this morning at 10 o'clock. Dickens appeared in court yesterday for one of those murder charges, and he's expected to appear in court again today for the other 3. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Johnston County.
Time is 8:35 as we turn our attention again to Hurricane Melissa and its impact on Jamaica. This is video from the National Police Force in Jamaica, and this is video of the leader of that agency in the process of removing trees outside their main headquarters there. Now, what you're seeing here is a tree down, and he looks like he's kind of messing with the saw there to get through. But one of the things that I should mention is this is a very small portion of the damage that was seen in Jamaica. Other places, other people are waking up to some damage this morning, including folks who who traveled from North Carolina to be in Jamaica. Let's go to RDU right now, live to Laura Levine. Laura, you spoke with a couple that's there right now. They're looking at stuff like this, if not worse.
Absolutely. Good morning, Chris. We are hearing from so many North Carolinians who had to ride out the storm in Jamaica, now hoping to catch the first flight out as soon as it's safe to do so. And here at the airport this morning, we're also hearing from people, newlyweds, in fact, that had to change their honeymoon plans because of the storm. But I want you to take a look at this video. This is from Bridget and Wayne Todd. That's the couple that we caught back up with who were celebrating their anniversary on the island. Bridget gave us a look at how they're hunkering down in their resort room with mattresses and furniture blocking doors and windows. They had food stocked up in their mini fridge, and they even had a pallet in the bathroom to sleep on while they had a tub filled up with fresh water. Now, this morning we spoke again to that newlywed couple. They were heading to Cancun after having to make some quick plans when they learned about the storm. Take a listen.
We got married on Sunday, and we were supposed to fly out on Monday to Coral Springs Resort in Jamaica, but we found out the night before the wedding, so Saturday night, that all the airports got closed. So we had to power through the wedding with hopes and dreams, and then we found out Sunday night that it was closed for sure.
Hopes and dreams. So luckily, they were able to get refunded from the resort in Jamaica. They were here at the airport this morning heading to Cancun for that trip. As far as the Todd family, I tried to reach back out to them this morning, and it appears that cell service is still not working there. So, of course, we're going to update you as soon as we learn more on how folks are doing there. Laura Levine, WRAL News, live at RDU.
And you can keep up to date on Hurricane Melissa on WRAL.com. You can track the latest track and radar and read our story rounding up the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. It is right on the homepage.
Well, today, the state's DMV will be under scrutiny. North Carolina lawmakers will be questioning the agency's commission as part of a government efficiency hearing. WRAL's Ali Cadlebar explains how this could lead to changes in how you operate with the DMV.
Lawmakers hope this hearing will be another step closer to improving long wait times at the DMV. And we're seeing some of those wait times here. The line does look pretty short for this time of the morning. But today, that hearing, it's going to be the House Select Committee on Government Efficiency. They're going to be questioning state transportation officials. They're asking what's being done to improve the DMV. Officials with the state auditor's office will also discuss recent audits. Those audits highlighted understaffing and overworked employees as the problem. WRAL state government reporter Will Doran explains why this hearing may result in some breakthroughs.
This isn't just on the auditor's office. State lawmakers are taking a closer look at this. The governor's office, who oversees the DMV, is also taking a look at this, trying to get some changes made. So this is a really multi-pronged approach coming at efforts to improve the DMV.
Lawmakers did pass recent legislation to improve the experience at the DMV. Today, that hearing is at 1 p.m. WRAL is going to be covering this. Reporting in Raleigh, Ali Cadlebar, WRAL News.
All right, the World Series now tied at 2 games apiece heading into tonight's Game 5. It was a quick turnaround for the Dodgers and Blue Jays for last night's Game 4 after Monday night's marathon 18-inning showdown. The Blue Jays were up 2-1 in the 7th inning when they broke the game wide open with 4 runs. The Dodgers tried to make a comeback but fell quite a bit short. The Blue Jays got the win 6-2.
And the MLB World Series is now tied 2 games to 2 games. Tonight's Game 5 will put the winner within 1 game of clinching the title. First pitch in LA is at 8 p.m. You can watch that game on Fox 50. What a fun series this has been. All right, coming up, extremely dangerous storm. Hurricane Melissa slams into Cuba after hitting Jamaica. The impacts we're seeing almost 24 hours after landfall.
Also, protecting your online presence, it's not something you may necessarily think about for after you're gone, but 5 on your side, sharing the 5 things you should do right now to make things easier in a crisis.
And one system moves out, the next weather maker arrives. This is a live look in Clinton. Just ahead, meteorologist Elizabeth Garter explains the 3 changes this new system will bring ahead of Halloween.
.44, it's a bit of a messy morning out there. We just have a little bit of rain showing up on dual Doppler 5000 radar. I'll be with you, Goldsboro, headed up toward Wilson, Rocky Mount, and on up into Franklin County eventually as well, Wake County, Johnston County. There's some drizzle that's happening also that isn't necessarily showing up there on the radar. Our chance of rain will go up a little bit around lunchtime, 40 to 50%, and then back down to 30% during the evening. But our next weather maker comes in overnight. We'll take a closer look at the timeline for that and how much rain we could see. You can see it's a bit drizzly here in Lewisburg, but nothing actually falling in terms of, raindrop size. 46 in Roxborough, 48 Garner, it's 52 in Goldsboro right now. Dog walking forecast. There's some puddles out there. Watch out for those. Temperatures at lunchtime in the low 50s. We'll see highs in the mid 50s this afternoon, Ken.
All right, Elizabeth, congestion is definitely easing on US 1 between Highway 55 and I-40 this morning because there was a crash right there, the I-40 US 1 interchange. It's probably in the clearing phase. It's still causing some lingering delays. Right now, you're just looking at a 6-minute delay. That was in double digits a little while ago. If you're coming in from Durham this morning, you're looking at a 7-minute delay. Our friends in Wake Forest, you're looking at a 9-minute delay as you're on your way into the capital city.
All right, thank you, Ken. Well, it's not pleasant to think about death or a medical emergency, but one of the greatest gifts that you can give your loved ones is being prepared for those situations. You might be familiar with traditional estate planning, but there's also what's called digital estate planning. 5 on Your Side's Ashley Rowe shares the 5 things to do right now to make things easier in a crisis.
Having a will and power of attorney will help your loved ones follow your wishes, but there's more to do. First, set up an in case of emergency document. Jot down the names, phone numbers, and emails of important people in your life. List the location of important documents like birth certificates, passports, and social security cards.
This document should also have your bank accounts, investments, and recurring bills. Put down when they're due and how you pay them. Be sure to mention if anything is on auto pay.
2, share your passwords. In order to pay your bills and handle other affairs, someone needs your login information. The third thing to do, designate a legacy contact for your online accounts.
A few tech companies let you grant control to someone else. There's Google's Inactive Account Manager, Facebook Legacy Contact, and Apple's Legacy Contact, to name a few.
Next, add your digital assets to your traditional will. That way, everything is tied together in one place and easy for your family or close friends to find. Finally, tell your loved ones your wishes and where they can find this information. Providing easy access to online accounts can make a painful time less stressful. Ashley Rowe, 5 on Your Side.
Tonight, the state superintendent of schools will be in Chapel Hill to discuss his new strategic plan. This will be the last stop on Superintendent Mo Green's Archiving Educational Experience Tour. He'll be giving a presentation on how parents and educators can get involved in the 5-year plan. Some highlights include community engagement, career development for students, and teacher recruiting. Tonight's presentation is 6 p.m. at Chapel Hill High School.
Our teacher of the week always knew she wanted to be an educator, even when she was in her early teens. Well, today at Salem Middle School in Apex, she strives to make sure her students have the learning experience that's engaging and fun.
Sometimes it's about where you want to do the trading or what you're going to trade for.
Emily Swanson is a 6th grade social studies teacher at Salem Middle School in Apex.
Instead of using the Nile, now what can they use?
Her classroom is her happy place, and it's been that way for going on 26 years now. What does teaching do for you?
Oh, I feel like it's my entire identity. So I feel like it allows me to do all the things with the students and see the learning, the aha moments. So it just brings me such joy. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite thing. The Nubians, very good.
The aha moments she just mentioned get to the heart of why Ms. Swanson is so beloved by her students and speaks to the stress-free environment she tries to create in her classroom.
I want them to feel like they can speak freely. I want them to feel like they can engage in what we're doing. And then I also want them to be able to connect what we're doing with what's happening outside of our classroom.
For Ms. Swanson, when students are engaged in the learning process and having fun, that's when she feels she's doing her job.
That is the A+ on my report card, when I get to see that they've actually learned something or that I've interested them.
Ms. Swanson, you are WRAL's Teacher of the Week. Congratulations. I absolutely loved walking into that classroom. So if you'd like to nominate a teacher, go to WRAL.com in a Teacher of the Week in the search box.
Time is 8:49 here in the WRAL Live Center. This is a live look from Montego Bay in Jamaica, and I'm going to be honest with you. You can see the palm tree fronds that are kind of scattered everywhere with debris, and there's the damage that's been done to these buildings here. Admittedly, I thought I would see a little worse damage for this, but obviously it's a good thing not to see things worse than this, at least in this part of the island. And Chris, you got to look at these buildings still standing here in Jamaica, and it makes you wonder, how well built are they? But clearly decently well here in Montego Bay.
Definitely in Montego Bay. So I'm going to show you guys where that is on the map. And you see these blue pixels right here. That's where the percentage of weak walls is low. So those resorts and everything really well built. But toward the southwestern part of the country, that's where you've got a larger percentage of weaker built buildings, especially in areas just to the, I'm trying to think of Black River. That was the name of the town that's there in the western part of Jamaica. Now, here at home, what could we withstand theoretically? So I reached out to my brothers who are both builders in the area, and they said depending on where you are, the code changes. So for Wake County, it's about a 115-mile-per-hour wind that you could withstand with modern-day building. The farther south and east you go, it's about 130 miles per hour is what you could withstand. So understandably so, as you get closer to the coast, the wind that buildings could sustain is higher because of the frequency of systems out there. Now, we're not looking at anything destructive or anything, but it is breezy, Elizabeth, and that's coming ahead of the next weather maker that promises more rain.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We did have winds yesterday gusting up to 37 miles per hour. I believe that was our strongest wind gust. Of course, that's not enough to cause any damage. And winds are definitely lighter today, gusting up to around maybe 20, 25. Our next weather maker comes in tonight. And behind it, it'll be a little bit breezy for us on Thursday and Friday. But again, nothing that's going to cause any damage. Finally, we'll begin to dry out. We should see some sunshine later tomorrow and into Friday both. But this weather maker has to come through first. We did have some damage along the Outer Banks from that low that's moving away. This one isn't likely to do the same sort of damage just because of the placement of it. It's going to end up traveling farther to the north. A little bit of light patchy rain around Goldsboro, getting ready to lift on up into Wilson County and into Johnston County. But there's just not a lot out there, at least showing up on the radar. Everything out there has been very light this morning. You could run into some drizzle over the next several hours. Futurecast shows just patchy light rain for us all the way through the afternoon. There's lunchtime, and then into the afternoon, just fairly light, as a matter of fact, for the evening commute. The evening commute is going to feel maybe a little bit like right now, where it's just going to be cloudy, a little breezy, and there may be some drizzle. But overnight, say midnight up until the early morning hours tomorrow, we do have a better chance. We're giving it an 80% chance and then 40% chance first thing in the morning on Thursday. Could still affect the morning commute. How much rain? Most likely around a quarter of an inch to a half an inch. And you can see the drizzle that's falling out there. Nothing showing up on the radar, but it is drizzling across downtown Raleigh right now, where it is 48 degrees. And our wind is northeast at 8 miles per hour. Looking at a cool day today. Northeast wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour is likely to be gusting, like I said, about 15 to 20, maybe isolated 25 mile per hour gusts. It's definitely a cool day. 55 in Raleigh, 53 in Durham, and 57 degrees in Fayetteville. So definitely looking cool. As a matter of fact, these temperatures are well below normal. Our normal high for today is usually upper 60s in the Triangle and low 70s in Fayetteville. For tomorrow, we may start wet, but we'll end up with some sunshine, most likely in the afternoon. And Friday for trick-or-treat looks good, sunny skies. Trick-or-treat time temperatures are likely to be in the low to mid 50s, which should be perfect. A good-looking weekend and warmer temperatures as we get into early next week. So something to look forward to, Michelle.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. Before we go to break, here are your winning lottery numbers. We'll get another check on weather and traffic next.